Hello everybody, today we'll be learning how to make a stackable item sorter. Now I use this item sorter all the time. I love it. I think it's wonderful. It does a great job. But before we get into the tutorial, let's have a little bit of a demonstration. You noticed the diamond chest is empty, the wood plank chest is empty, and the cobblestone chest is empty. But if I throw each of these into here, they disappear at certain points and get sorted into their corresponding chests. So let's get started. Now, how many items you'll need for your sorting system will depend on how big you want to make your sorting system. But for one slice, the bare minimum you'll need is 6 building blocks, 3 pieces of redstone dust, 2 hoppers, a comparator, a repeater, a redstone torch, whatever item you're going to filter, and then 4 filter items. But for the slice that I will be building, I will be using an extra 2 hoppers and 6 chests. To start, I'm going to place 3 double chests on the ground like so, with a hopper on the back of each of them facing toward the chest. Now we're going to place a block 1, 2, 3 blocks away from this bottom hopper. We'll place a temporary block on top of that with 2 blocks on either side of it. We'll break the temporary block and place a repeater in its place facing toward the chest. Now we need a redstone torch on this block like so, with a block above it, and 2 more blocks coming off the back of that. Now we need a redstone comparator on top of this block facing toward these blocks we just placed. And finally we put redstone dust on top of each of those. And then we will put a hopper facing into that comparator. And that's it, that's one slice. So to set up the item filter, you're going to go into this top hopper that we just placed and place whatever item you want in the section in the very first slot of the hopper, and then 4 filter items in the remaining slots. I want to emphasize that this only works for stackable items. Things like minecarts or elytra, armor, weapons, tools. Those things will not work in this design because they can only stack in one. You need things like building blocks or railing, things that can have multiple items per stack. Now the reason I said you only need 2 hoppers for this design is because technically these chests and these 2 hoppers are unnecessary. You can do it with just this item hopper, but once this fills up, this will fill up, and then you won't be able to hold any more items. So it's generally ideal to have chests and more hoppers. This design is tileable, which means you can place multiple next to one another without them interfering with one another. And once you've extended it, there are several ways to put items into your system. One way to do it is just to add a line of hoppers going along the top. That way you can put items into this chest and they'll go along, and once they reach a filter that they can go into, it'll drop out and go into your system. Another way to do it is to use a hopper minecart. Now there may be some scenarios where this would be the ideal, but in general I would recommend staying away from this one. My personal favorite, water streams. Now this chest is here because it's slightly shorter than 1 block, which allows the blocks to butt up against it and be halfway on these blocks and halfway on these blocks, which is important because if blocks just go down the middle, they can get caught on the hoppers like that and not continue on down the line. Well, now you know everything you need to know to build your own sorting system, but if you stick around, I'm going to go over some things that I thought were worth mentioning and talk more about how it works. I always rename my filter items, and I usually just do something random like this, but this is only necessary if the filter item is not a different item in the system, such as dirt. If you just use regular dirt and you send in dirt in replace, it'll slowly fill this up, and as you can see, the wood planks start to disappear. And this is a problem because eventually they will go in, and then the next item you send through will take its spot. And now your filter is all broken and you get a bunch of junk, and it's not sorted the way you want. And before we talk about the sorter, we need to talk about locked hoppers, which is what the sorter relies on. Now regularly, a hopper can just suck items out of a container like so. But you can lock the hopper using a power source such as a redstone torch, which will cause the items to stay put. But when a hopper has its tail directed into the other hopper, it still pushes items into this hopper. But when this tail is directed sideways, the items stay inside this hopper. Now that we've talked about that, we can talk about the sorter. We have this filter hopper, which is pointed to the side, and underneath it we have a locked hopper, which is why the items don't drain into it. Then we have this redstone torch, which is powering the locked hopper, and we also have this comparator, which detects how full this container is. When this increases by 1, you'll notice it goes back down to 41. That's because this increases the signal strength up to 3, which powers this redstone dust, which powers this repeater, which deactivates this redstone torch, which turns or unlocks this hopper momentarily, allowing the items to flow through. And that's how the sorter works. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot. But until next time, have a wonderful day.